Disaster strikes. The second day on Hades dawned with an eerie stillness, the perpetual gloom of the planet's atmosphere casting a sickly pall over the landscape. The crew of the Dauntless emerged from their makeshift shelter, their pressure suits battered and stained from the previous day's trials. "I don't like this," Jack Ripper Sullivan muttered, his eyes scanning the horizon. "It's too quiet." Captain Nora Hawkins nodded, a sense of unease settling in her gut. The planet's sudden silence was unnerving, a stark contrast to the constant barrage of noise and danger they had faced since landing. "Stay alert," she ordered, her voice tight with tension. "We're closing in on the energy readings. We can't afford to let our guard down now." The crew pressed on, picking their way through the treacherous terrain, but with each passing hour, the sense of foreboding grew stronger. It was as if the planet itself was holding its breath, waiting for the right moment to strike. That moment came without warning. As the team navigated a narrow canyon, a sudden rumble shook the ground beneath their feet. Before they could react, a massive geyser of poisonous gas erupted from a nearby crevice, engulfing the crew in a choking, toxic cloud. Screams of pain and terror filled the comms as the crew scrambled for safety, but it was too late. The corrosive gas ate through their pressure suits, searing flesh and burning lungs. In a matter of seconds, half the team lay dead, their bodies twisted and scorched beyond recognition. The survivors, led by a badly injured Nora, dragged themselves to a nearby cave, gasping for air and reeling from the sudden loss of their crewmates. Dr. Lena Sorensen, her suit punctured and leaking, collapsed to the ground, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "We have to keep moving," Nora said, her voice thick with pain and grief. "We can't let their deaths be in vain." But as the remaining crew members assessed their situation, the grim reality began to sink in. Their suits were badly damaged, their supplies dwindling. The energy readings that had brought them to this hellish planet now seemed like a distant, impossible dream. "We're not going to make it," Max Nakamura whispered, his face ashen beneath his cracked helmet. "We should have never come here." But Mia, his twin sister, shook her head fiercely. "No, we can't give up. Not now. Not after everything we've been through." With grim determination, the survivors set about repairing their suits and equipment, using every ounce of their ingenuity and resourcefulness. They scavenged parts from their dead crewmates' suits, improvising patches and seals to keep the deadly atmosphere at bay. As they worked, Nora felt a flicker of pride amid the overwhelming grief and despair. Her crew, even in the face of unimaginable adversity, refused to give up. They were humans, Deathworlders, and they would not go quietly into the void. But even as they struggled to keep going, doubt began to creep in. The odds seemed insurmountable, the planet's malevolence unrelenting. How could they possibly hope to survive, let alone complete their mission? It was then, in their darkest hour, that the youngest member of the crew, Mia Nakamura, stepped forward. Her eyes blazed with a fierce determination, her voice steady and strong. "We are not going to die here," she said, looking each of her crewmates in the eye. "We are going to finish what we started. For our fallen friends, for the people back home, and for the entire damn galaxy. We are human, and we do not surrender." Her words, simple yet powerful, ignited a spark of hope in the hearts of the surviving crew. They had come too far, lost too much, to turn back now. With renewed resolve, they gathered their gear and set out once more, ready to face whatever horrors Hades had in store. The Deathworlders pressed on, battered but unbroken, determined to see their mission through to the end, no matter the cost. The Void Abyss. As the remnants of the dauntless crew crested the final ridge, the source of the mysterious energy readings came into view. The colossal vortex of crackling, ethereal energy swirled before them, its center a pitch-black void that seemed to consume all light and matter. "The Void Abyss," Dr. Lena Sorensen breathed, her eyes wide with a mix of terror and awe. "I've never seen anything like it. Captain Nora Hawkins felt a chill run down her spine as she stared into the pulsing heart of the anomaly. The energy emanating from the vortex was unlike anything she had ever encountered, a primal force that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. "What's the plan, Captain?" Jack Ripper Sullivan asked, his voice tense. Nora consulted her suit's sensors, the data confirming what they all suspected. "The readings indicate that the resource we're after is inside the vortex. We're going to have to find a way to extract it." The crew nodded, their expressions a mix of determination and anticipation. They knew the odds were stacked against them, but that only fueled their resolve. As the Dauntless lifted off, Earth's atmosphere giving way to the inky blackness of space, each crew member silently grappled with their reasons for embarking on this dangerous mission. For some, it was a chance to push the boundaries of scientific discovery. For others, it was an opportunity to test the limits of human endurance. But for all of them, it was a calling, a chance to make a difference on a galactic scale. Light years away, the Alien Council watched the progress of the human ship with a mix of fascination and trepidation. They still couldn't quite believe that the Deathworlders had answered the call. "Do you think they even stand a chance?" Vortax asked, his voice tinged with doubt. Xyloff shook his head, his expression unreadable. "I don't know, but one thing is certain. We have underestimated the humans. They are a force to be reckoned with." As the Dauntless hurtled through space, its crew steeling themselves for the trials ahead, a new chapter in galactic history was about to unfold. The Deathworlders were coming, and the universe would never be the same. Touchdown on Hades. The Dauntless shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of X-279, its reinforced hull groaning under the strain of the planet's crushing pressure. On the bridge, Captain Nora Hawkins gripped the controls, her knuckles white, as she fought to keep the ship steady. "Status report," she barked, her eyes never leaving the view screen. "Shields are holding at 60%. Max Nakamura replied from the engineering station, his fingers flying over the console. "But the atmospheric conditions are even worse than we anticipated." Outside, hurricane-force winds lashed at the ship, hurling debris and corrosive gas against the straining shields. The sky was a sickly green, the air thick with noxious fumes that would have instantly killed any unprotected life form. "I've got a visual on the landing site," Jack Ripper Sullivan called out from the navigation console. "But it's not going to be a smooth touchdown." Nora nodded grimly. "Brace for impact." The crew held on as the Dauntless pitched and rolled, its engines screaming as they fought against the planet's gravitational pull. With a bone-jarring thud, the ship finally touched down on the surface of X-279, or as the crew had come to call it, Hades. As the dust settled, the crew emerged from the ship, their pressure suits the only thing standing between them and certain death. The landscape before them was a nightmarish hellscape, a twisted jumble of jagged rocks and bubbling pools of acid. In the distance, a massive volcano belched out clouds of toxic gas, its ominous rumble echoing across the desolate plain. "All right, people, listen up," Nora said, her voice crackling over the suit's comms. "We've got a 2-day trek ahead of us to reach the site of the energy readings. Stay sharp and stay together. We don't know what kind of surprises this planet has in store for us." As the crew set out across the hostile terrain, they quickly realized that the environment wasn't the only danger they faced. Strange, predatory creatures lurked in the shadows, their eerie cries sending shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned crew members. "What the hell is that?" Mia Nakamura gasped as a massive, insectoid creature scuttled past, its razor-sharp mandibles dripping with venom. "Some kind of native predator," Dr. Lena Sorensen replied, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. "Evolved to thrive in this toxic environment." The crew pressed on, their progress slowed by the treacherous terrain and the constant threat of the planet's deadly inhabitants. By the end of the first day, they were exhausted and battered, their pressure suits scared from close encounters with the local wildlife. As they set up camp for the night, huddled in the meager shelter of a rocky outcropping, Nora couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The planet seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if it was actively trying to snuff out the intruders who dared to set foot on its surface. "Get some rest," she told her crew, her voice heavy with fatigue. "We've got another long day ahead of us tomorrow." But as the team settled in for a fitful sleep, none of them could shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. Hades had only begun to reveal its deadly secrets, and the Deathworlders were about to be tested like never before. Deadly discovery. In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, a cluster of alien scientists huddled around a holographic display, their expressions grave. The data streaming in from their long-range scans was unlike anything they had encountered before. "These energy readings are off the scale," Dr. Zyloth, the lead Zorganian researcher, said as he pointed a slender finger at the pulsing anomaly on the star map, "and they're coming from an uncharted planet in the Erebus sector." "That sector is a celestial graveyard," Captain Vortax of the Galactic Exploration Council interjected, his brow furrowed. "No expedition has ever returned from there." Zyloth nodded solemnly. "The atmospheric conditions on this planet are lethal to all known species. Our drones couldn't even withstand a few minutes on the surface." The assembled scientists and officials exchanged uneasy glances. They all knew the implications of this discovery. The mysterious energy signature hinted at a resource that could revolutionize space travel, but the planet, now designated as X-279, was a death world, an environment so hostile that it made even the most inhospitable worlds look tame in comparison. "We need to extract a sample for further study," Zyloth said firmly. "This could be the key to unlocking intergalactic travel." Vortax shook his head. "No one would be foolish enough to set foot on that planet. The risk is too great." A heavy silence fell over the room as they pondered their predicament. They needed those resources, but at what cost? Who among the galactic community would be brave enough, or foolish enough, to venture into the jaws of certain death? Little did they know that salvation would come from the most unexpected corner of the universe, a little blue planet called Earth, home to a species with an insatiable appetite for pushing boundaries and defying the odds. The call for volunteers went out on all frequencies, a desperate plea from the galactic community. Yet, as the silence stretched on, it seemed that no one would answer the call to explore the deadly world of X-279. But then, a transmission crackled through the static. "This is Captain Nora Hawkins of the Earth ship Dauntless. We're ready to take on the mission." The alien council members were stunned. Humans, the primitive species from the galactic frontier. Known for their irrational bravery and reckless curiosity, it was unthinkable. Yet, as they stared at the flickering image of the human captain, her eyes blazing with determination, they realized they had no other choice. The fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of the Deathworlders. Enter the Deathworlders. News of the human volunteers spread like wildfire through the galactic community. Disbelief and awe mingled in equal measure as the alien species grappled with the notion that the primitive Deathworlders would dare to venture where no one else would. On Earth, Captain Nora Hawkins grinned as she surveyed her newly assembled crew. They were a ragtag bunch, each with their own unique skills and motivations for joining the mission. There was Jack "Ripper" Sullivan, a former Special Forces operative who had earned his nickname for his uncanny ability to get out of tough situations. His battle-hardened exterior belied a quick wit and a fiercely loyal heart. Next to him stood Dr. Lena Sorensen, a brilliant xenobiologist who had spent her career studying the most extreme life forms in the universe. Her eyes sparkled with the prospect of discovering new species on X-279, even if it meant risking her life. Rounding out the crew were the twins, Max and Mia Nakamura, engineering prodigies who had designed some of the most advanced exploration equipment on Earth. They chattered excitedly about the modifications they had made to the Dauntless to withstand the planet's hostile environment. "All right, listen up," Nora said, her voice cutting through the buzz of conversation. "We all know the risks. This planet has killed everything that's ever set foot on it. But we're not just anyone. We're human. We don't back down from a challenge. Are you insane? Max Nakamura blurted, his face pale beneath his helmet. We can't go in there. It's suicide. A tense silence fell over the group as they grappled with the reality of their situation. They had come so far, sacrificed so much, but the final hurdle seemed insurmountable. We don't have a choice, Lena said quietly, her voice heavy with resignation. We either try or we fail. There's no other way. Nora nodded, her jaw set with grim determination. Dr. Sorensen is right. We've come too far to turn back now. But even as she spoke, a flicker of doubt crept into her heart. The void abyss loomed before them, a swirling maw of destruction that threatened to consume them all. How could they possibly hope to survive, let alone retrieve the precious resource that lay within? As if sensing her hesitation, Mia Nakamura stepped forward, her eyes blazing with the same fierce determination that had saved them before. I'll go, she said, her voice steady. I'm the smallest, and my suit's been modified for extreme conditions. I stand the best chance. No, Max cried, his face contorted with fear and anguish. Mia, you can't. It's too dangerous. But Mia just shook her head, a sad smile playing at the corners of her mouth. It's what we came here to do, Max. It's what we've trained for. And if I don't make it back, her voice caught, and she swallowed hard. If I don't make it back, I know you'll finish what we started. Before anyone could argue, Mia turned and strode towards the void abyss, her slight figure dwarfed by the immense, swirling vortex. As she reached the edge, she paused, looking back at her crewmates one last time. See you on the other side, she said, her voice crackling over the comms. And then, without hesitation, she stepped into the abyss and vanished from sight. The minutes that followed were the longest of Nora's life. The crew waited, barely daring to breathe, as they watched the swirling vortex for any sign of Mia. The comms remained silent, the only sound the eerie hum of the anomaly, and the pounding of their own hearts. Just as despair began to set in, a flicker of movement caught Nora's eye. A figure, small and battered, emerged from the heart of the void abyss, clutching something tightly to their chest. Mia! Max screamed, his voice breaking with relief and joy. The crew rushed forward as Mia stumbled towards them, her suit scorched and dented, but miraculously intact. In her hands, she held a small pulsing orb of pure energy, the resource they had risked. Legendary status. As the Dauntless limped back into the hangar of the Galactic Exploration Council's headquarters, the ship bore the scars of its harrowing journey. Its hull was scorched and battered, a testament to the trials the crew had endured on the deadly surface of Hades. But as the airlock hissed open and the surviving crew members emerged, they were greeted not with horror or pity, but with awe and reverence. Word of their incredible feat had spread like wildfire through the galaxy, and the Deathworlders found themselves hailed as heroes. Captain Nora Hawkins, her eyes haunted but her head held high, stepped forward to address the gathered council members. We returned with the resource, she said simply, holding out the pulsing orb of energy. But the price was high. As she recounted the story of their mission, the council listened in rapt attention. They marveled at the ingenuity and bravery of the human crew, their ability to adapt and overcome in the face of impossible odds. But it was Mia Nakamura's tale that truly captivated them. The young engineer, still shaken from her ordeal, described her experience inside the void abyss with a mix of wonder and horror. It was like nothing I've ever seen, she said, her voice trembling slightly. A realm of pure energy where the laws of physics seemed to bend and twist. I could feel it, the power of the resource, calling to me. It was terrifying, but also beautiful. The council members exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of disbelief and awe. They had known the resource was valuable, but to hear of its power firsthand was something else entirely. In the weeks that followed, the Deathworlders found themselves the center of attention. Scientists from across the galaxy clamored to study the mysterious orb, to unlock its secrets and harness its power. And harness it they did. The resource, once refined and applied, revolutionized space travel just as the Council had hoped. Ships could now traverse the vast distances between stars in near days, opening up new frontiers of exploration and commerce. But even as the galaxy celebrated this new era of progress, they never forgot the sacrifices of the dauntless crew. The names of the fallen were etched into monuments on 100 worlds, their stories told and retold as a testament to the indomitable human spirit. And as for the survivors, they found themselves changed in ways they could never have imagined. Nora Hawkins, once a captain of a single ship, now found herself at the helm of the Galactic Exploration Council, guiding the course of interstellar discovery. Jack "Ripper" Sullivan, the battle-hardened soldier, turned his talents to training new generations of explorers, instilling in them the same grit and determination that had seen him through the trials of Hades. Dr. Lena Sorensen threw herself into the study of the alien life forms they had encountered, determined to unlock the secrets of evolution in the galaxy's most extreme environments. And the Nakamura twins, Max and Mia, found themselves at the forefront of a new era of technological innovation, their genius and resourcefulness sought after by the greatest minds in the universe. But even as they went their separate ways, the crew of the Dauntless remained bonded by their shared experience, their triumphs and their losses. They had stared into the face of oblivion and emerged changed, forged in the crucible of Hades. And when new challenges arose, when the call went out for volunteers to brave the unknown once more, it was no surprise that the Deathworlders were the first to step forward. For they were human, the species that had clawed its way from the mud of a backwater planet to the very edges of the galaxy. They were explorers, adventurers, and above all, survivors. And as long as there were frontiers to be explored, as long as there were mysteries to be unraveled and dangers to be faced, the Deathworlders would be there, ready to prove once again that the human spirit was the most powerful force in the universe. The end.